Something strange happens when the chaos finally stops. The fights end, the deadlines pass. The house goes quiet, and instead of relief, you feel a tight, nameless discomfort, like you're waiting for something to go wrong. If peace has ever felt more unsettling than pain itself, this video is for you. But this feeling has a name, and a reason hiding underneath it. Maybe you've noticed it too. You finally get the calm evening, the stabler relationship, the manageable week. And part of you starts scanning anyway, checking your phone, replaying conversations, waiting for the good thing to break. Calm doesn't feel like safety. It feels like the pause before something happens. And that pause hides a strange contradiction psychologists have actually studied. Researchers who study anxiety found something counterintuitive. People don't worry because they enjoy it. They worry because worry keeps their emotions at a steady, guarded level. This is called the Contrast Avoidance Model. The fear isn't calm itself. It's the fear of feeling good, then getting blindsided by something bad right after. In other words, calm feels dangerous because of what might follow it. Carl Jung looked at this same pattern almost a century earlier, from a different angle. He believed the mind is always trying to stay balanced. When life stays tense for years, the mind doesn't just endure the tension, it builds an entire identity around it. And anything unfamiliar, even something good, can feel like a threat to that balance. So let's step into this journey and understand why your mind resists the very thing it's been longing for. Why does your body brace even when nothing is wrong? Why does silence sometimes feel louder than noise? Why do some people quietly create small problems the moment things get too calm? These aren't signs that something is broken in you. They're signs of a mind that learned to survive a very different kind of life. To understand this, we have to look at what years of anxiety actually do to a person. Picture someone who spent years inside an unpredictable home, a difficult job, or a relationship that kept them on edge. Their body learned one job extremely well: stay alert, stay ready, never fully relax. That skill kept them safe back then. The problem is, it never learned how to turn itself off. Your body never received the message that the war was over. Now picture that same person years later. The hard chapter is over. Life is finally steady. But their habits haven't caught up. They still overthink small decisions. They still brace for bad news that never comes. Psychologists call this a mismatch between what's actually happening and what the mind still expects. And that mismatch shows up in the body long before it shows up in words. Some people, without realizing it, start creating small storms, picking a fight over nothing, overloading their schedule, finding a new problem the moment the old one disappears. This isn't self-sabotage in the way we usually think of it. Researchers would say the mind is trying to avoid a much worse feeling, being calm, then blindsided. Because a familiar, guarded feeling can seem safer than an unfamiliar, open one. This is where most people stop looking. They call it bad luck, restlessness, or just who I am. But underneath the behavior is something scientists have actually mapped inside the brain, a system quietly working overtime, long after the danger that built it is gone. This is where we go one level deeper, into the body itself. Scientists describe the brain as a prediction machine. After years of anxiety, it quietly updates its expectations to assume danger is always close. So when real peace shows up, the brain doesn't recognize it. The gap between what it expected and what's actually happening creates a kind of internal alarm. Researchers call it a prediction error. And your brain hates nothing more than being wrong about danger. To close that gap, the brain has two choices. It can slowly learn a new normal, which takes real time, or it can take a shortcut. Manufacture a bit of anxiety, release some adrenaline, and make the moment match what it already expected. That second option is faster. It's also why calm can suddenly turn into panic for no clear reason. This isn't a flaw in you, it's a brain trying to stay predictable. There's also a physical side to this. Years of anxiety keep the nervous system in a state trauma researchers call hyper-alert. So when your body finally starts to relax, heart rate slowing, breathing softening, the nervous system can misread that calm as something dangerous, like a kind of shutting down. And when the body senses shutdown, it panics to pull itself back. Trauma researcher Bessel van der Kolk has written about how the body keeps a memory of danger long after the mind has moved on. For someone who grew up around unpredictability, relaxing your guard was often exactly when something bad happened. So the body quietly learned soft muscles and slow breathing aren't safety, they're a warning sign. That's not something you can think your way out of. It lives in the body. There's a helpful map for this called the window of tolerance. Above the window is panic and overwhelm. Below it is numbness and shutdown. In the middle is calm, grounded safety. Years of anxiety can shrink that middle window until it barely exists, so any drop in tension risks sliding straight past calm into numbness instead. A numbness to the body can feel disturbingly close to danger. This explains something that confuses a lot of people. Why relaxation exercises sometimes make anxiety worse instead of better, at least at first. Studies on relaxation training have found this happens to a meaningful number of people. The quiet itself becomes the trigger, simply because the body isn't used to being that undefended. So if calm has ever backfired on you, you weren't doing it wrong. So this isn't really about anxiety in the way we usually picture it. It's about a body and a mind that mistook constant tension for being alive and mistook stillness for danger. Once you understand that self-sabotage starts to look like something else entirely, self-protection aimed at the wrong target for far too long. And this is exactly where Carl Jung's psychology becomes the missing piece. Jung believed something surprising about chronic worry, that it isn't meaningless. He described it almost as a stand-in for a deeper pain the mind isn't ready to face yet. In his words, ordinary anxiety often works as a substitute for a heavier kind of suffering underneath. It keeps you busy so you don't have to feel what's really there. Which means peace doesn't just remove stress, it removes the distraction. Maybe you've spent years being praised for how well you handle everything. Staying composed under pressure became part of who you are. But what happens to that identity when there's finally nothing left to handle? For some people, calm doesn't just feel unfamiliar. It feels like losing a role they built their whole sense of self around. Jung had a word for that role, the mask we build to function in the world. Jung called this outer role the persona. When the strong one, or the fixer, becomes your entire identity, peace can feel like an identity crisis in disguise. Who are you when there's nothing left to survive? For years, this question had no answer, because there was never enough quiet to ask it. That question can feel more frightening than the chaos ever did. There's another piece to this. Jung noticed that when all the mental and emotional energy that used to go into worrying suddenly has nowhere to go, it doesn't just disappear. It turns inward. He wrote about a restlessness that shows up when someone loses touch with their deeper sense of self, a kind of quiet ache with no obvious cause. That inward turn is often what people mistake for something being wrong with them. Jung also described a principle borrowed from an old Greek idea, that anything pushed too far in one direction eventually swings toward its opposite. Years of gripping tension tightly enough for long enough, can suddenly release all at once. That release doesn't always feel gentle. Sometimes it feels like a wave of panic arriving out of nowhere in the calmest moment of your week. It isn't peace attacking you. It's built-up pressure finally finding a way out. There's one more layer. Constant inner noise. Worry, planning, replaying conversations actually does a strange kind of job. It keeps deeper, harder feelings from surfacing. Jung believed real growth requires facing what's usually kept hidden. When the noise of worry quiets down, that hidden material doesn't vanish. It finally gets the chance to be felt. Which is why silence can feel less like peace and more like exposure at first. Put simply, your nervous system learned that danger and stillness were connected, and your mind built an entire identity around managing danger. Peace asks both systems to unlearn what took years to build. That's not weakness. That's one of the hardest kinds of relearning a person can go through, and knowing this changes how the discomfort should be met. Here's something worth knowing if you're already trying to heal this. Many people feel worse, not better, right when they start. Therapists have documented this pattern in people practicing relaxation. It isn't a setback. It's usually a sign that old defenses are finally loosening enough to let deeper feelings through, so they can be felt and released instead of buried again. So if peace has ever felt harder than the anxiety itself, that makes sense too. So how does someone actually learn to trust peace? Not by forcing themselves to relax, and not by staying busy to avoid the discomfort. It starts with something much smaller. Noticing the moment discomfort shows up in a calm moment, and simply staying with it a few seconds longer than usual. This is where real change quietly begins. Every time you sit with calm, instead of running from it, you send your nervous system new information. This is safe. Nothing bad follows this. It won't feel natural at first. That's expected. You're not broken for finding this hard. You're retraining a system that took years to build, one small moment at a time. And retraining is a practice, not a single decision. Give the discomfort a name instead of a story. Instead of, something bad is about to happen, try, my body is unlearning old alarms. That small shift matters more than it seems. You stop treating the sensation as a warning and start treating it as evidence that healing is actually taking place inside you right now. Naming it is powerful. Widening your capacity for it is even more powerful. Widening your window of tolerance doesn't happen in one big leap. It happens through small, repeated moments of staying present in calm, without fleeing it. A slow breath here, a quiet evening there. Each one gently teaches your body that the middle ground between panic and numbness is not only survivable, it's where you were always meant to live. And with practice, that middle ground stops feeling like a stranger. Jung believed real growth, what he called individuation, happens when we stop running from parts of ourselves and start understanding them instead. Your discomfort with peace isn't a flaw to eliminate. It's a part of you asking to be recognized, thanked for its service, and gently retired from a job it no longer needs to do. And recognition is where the deepest kind of relief begins. Maybe you spent so long being the person who holds everything together that you forgot what it feels like to exist without a task, simply. Letting peace in doesn't mean you're becoming careless or losing your edge. It means the parts of you that were always tired finally get permission to rest. Rest was never the enemy. It was the destination the whole time. This doesn't mean life will never bring hard moments again. It will, but you no longer have to live braced for them every single day. There's a difference between being prepared for storms and living as if you're always inside one. Peace means you finally get to close the umbrella on a clear day. And that difference changes how you experience every ordinary moment. Some days, the old alarm will still ring even when nothing is wrong. That's all right. You don't have to silence it perfectly. You only have to notice it, breathe through it, and remind yourself, I am safe now, even though part of me is still learning that. Progress isn't the absence of the old pattern. It's meeting it with more patience each time. And with that patience, something in you begins to soften, permanently. Over time, calm stops feeling like something to survive and starts feeling like something you belong in. The quiet evening, the stable relationship, the uneventful Tuesday. These stop feeling like the pause before disaster and start feeling like what they actually are. Simply, finally, your life. And this is where the deepest recognition of this whole journey arrives. Maybe this is you right now. Not broken, not ungrateful for the peace you fought so hard to reach, just still learning how to live inside it. That's not weakness. That's the quiet, unglamorous work of healing, happening in moments no one else will ever see. And it's more common and more human than you might think. The mind that once needed chaos to feel alive is the same mind capable of learning safety. It simply needs time, patience, and permission. Permission you can give yourself, right now, in this ordinary, quiet moment. You don't need another storm to prove you're strong. You already proved that. Now you get to rest. And resting is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of a new one. So the next time peace feels strange, remember what you now know. Your body isn't betraying you. It's catching up to a life that's finally safer than the one it learned to survive. Let the quiet in. Let the ordinary Tuesday be enough. You've earned the right. And this brings us back to where we began. Healing doesn't mean you'll never feel that old flicker of unease again. It means the flicker no longer gets to run your life. It becomes a quiet visitor instead of a permanent resident. Something you notice, breathe through, and let pass, while the rest of you stays exactly where it's meant to be. Right here, right now, at peace. If this video helped you understand a part of yourself a little better, you don't need to do anything with that except sit with it. And if you'd like to keep exploring your mind with us, you're always welcome back here.